Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about FTC sets its sights on unfair, deceptive, and anti-competitive practices in the gig economy. Yup, the FTC is coming after gig workers once again with yet another attack on our freedom and our ability to do our work. Now, I will say this, we're not going to go over the entirety of this article. It is a lot to go over here, but I do want to talk about the policy statement of what they're actually doing. So we're going to go over what they're actually doing, the things that they're claiming they're going to fix, how it actually is for us as gig workers, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. Control without responsibility. Roles are often defined to maximize the risk on the worker and minimize the responsibilities or expenses by the employer. I know what they're trying to say here. They're trying to put all of the expenses and everything else on us as gig workers, and instead of us actually knowing what we're being paid and actually having all of the information available to us, we are taking the responsibility as independent contractors, while they could get off scot-free half the time. So they have a lot of control without responsibility. But we kind of came into the gig economy knowing that. So it's not like this is something that we actually have a problem with, because that's what we kind of expected. Diminished bargaining power, a lack of transparency, a decentralized work environment, and legal recourse waivers limit the ability of workers to take action against employers. This absolutely needs to be addressed. For the amount of times all of us in the gig economy have had so many problems with transparency between how much we're being paid, with all of the policies that they say they have that they actually don't, or the policies that they won't show us because they don't actually have a reason to deactivate you, but they are going to deactivate you because they found a violation. I'm still a little butthurt about that. And the fact that we can't even take legal action against them half the time because lawyers don't know how to fight for us, so they're not actually going to. I do think that needs to be fixed, but I think that needs to be fixed on a level to where we can actually fight with government backup, because lawyers don't know what the frick they're doing. Our legal system doesn't know how to fight for us. And all of these gig companies get off scot-free because that's the kind of criminal intentions they have. So there's something that needs to be fixed within the system before they start fixing this. Concentrated markets, network effects, and subsidized costs can stifle competition and lock workers into a handful of platforms. Honestly, I think that's more of a supply and demand thing. You know that Doordash, UberEats, and Grubhub are the big three in food delivery, right? There's not a whole lot of other gig platforms you can actually work with. Why? Because they're just not busy enough, because their marketing is so top notch. The people who are actually going to those platforms, they know why they're going to those platforms, because those are the food delivery platforms. Let's say another one pops up. It's not like we're turning off the opportunity. It means we're actually going to go to the ones that are paying us, because that's what's paying us. Deceptive or unfair pay practices. Misleading claims about pay structures and policies may lure workers under false pretenses or prevent accurate comparisons between opportunities. How many times have you heard that DoorDash pays $25 an hour, Uber pays $39 an hour? Meanwhile, none of those two businesses actually do that. And they're not talking about your net pay. They're talking about revenue. So they're not accounting for the gas you're putting in your car. They're not accounting for the miles you're putting on your car, the repairs that you'll inevitably have to do. So it's not like that doesn't need to be fixed. On the other side to that, why are they still hiding tips? Why are they still playing games with our money? Because it's deceptive and unfair pay practices. That does need to be fixed. Undisclosed costs or terms of work. Fees and expenses associated with the work are frequently elated or downplayed, inflated apparent net pay. Again, that's the $25 an hour, the $39 an hour. They're not telling you how much you're actually being paid half the time. And they're not even explaining how that's possible. Because I'll tell you what, $25 an hour on DoorDash net pay? Are they telling you how many orders that is realistically? Are they telling you about how many customers don't actually tip their drivers? Because that's the kind of customer that DoorDash has attracted to their system. Are they not talking about all of the costs that it's going to cost you to actually run your delivery business? No, they're not telling you about that. They just want to put people on the platform. Unfair, deceptive practices by an automated boss. Automated distribution of work and pervasive surveillance can be misleading or manipulative, changing pay, ratings, or giving employers opportunities to push out unwanted workers. Oh, and not to mention, they'll always say it's a glitch in the system or something like that. And then they'll say they're putting people back on the platform even though they're not. And you know what? I do believe that the automated distribution of work does cap our pay all the time. And some people have proven that there is stealing tips. They are not properly calculating for distance all the time. Do they change anything about that? No. Oh, and not to mention the amount of times where somebody has the qualifications for Top Dasher and some glitch in the system changes the ratings across the board and causes problems for everybody. Unfair contractual terms and restrictions on mobility. Contracts are hardly ever negotiable, often barring workers from using competitors, speaking out, or suing. Okay, so quick note on all of that. A lot of us are multi-apping, so don't think you can't use other competitors, because you can. Speaking out, literally everybody and their mother has a TikTok or a YouTube channel dedicated to this stuff. So don't think speaking out is something you can't do. And suing, yeah, no lawyer's gonna back you up anyway. You can't expect to sue them. That's not just an independent contractor thing. That is just an employee problem as a whole. Employment lawyers do not actually help gig workers at all. Wage fixing and coordination, gig economy practices may purposely or as an effect of shared market power lead to wage fixing, benefit reduction, and other coordinated anti-worker behavior across employers. So that's already proven to where people feel as if they can't make more than a certain amount of money in a day because these companies will just stop sending them orders at some point. Benefit reduction. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about benefit reduction because I don't think we have much in terms of benefits either way. And other coordinate anti-worker behavior across employers. Literally all of them. They will do everything in their power to oppress us and get us to keep working as opposed to just doing their job and just let us have the things that will actually help us do our job. It's honestly the most frustrating experience in the world. Market consolidation and monopolization lessens competitive pay, may lead to monopolies, monopsonies, predatory pricing, and so on, in violation of antitrust laws. You're absolutely right about that. Well, predatory pricing, I feel like, is something that all of these gig apps have been doing to their customers for a long time. It's like they will be charged literally the amount of the $10 a month until you sign up for the $10 a month, and then they'll like cut it in half or something. And it's ridiculous. So I definitely understand the point that people are making on predatory pricing. But again, I feel like that's because there's not too much in terms of competition for food delivery apps. Like, let's realistically look at this. Doordash, UberEats, Grubhub. I think Waiter counts. Postmates is actually owned by Uber Eats. Doordash actually owns Caviar. There's not much left after that. And Delivery Dudes and Waiter are the same company too. I don't even think that there's any other gig apps out there for food delivery. And if there is, I'm wrong and I'll accept that. But the point of that is no wonder why there's predatory pricing. This is my opinion. This is worth what you pay for it. Then you pay me. There you go. To be honest with you, anytime I hear the FTC, the NLRB, literally any government entity getting involved in the gig economy, I never think it's a good thing. Why? Because they always say it's gonna be this huge change for all of us as gig workers. And you know what happens? The opposite. Sure, sometimes it ends up being a good thing for us, but that's really few and far between. Like, literally, it's a handful of times, and then they milk those handful of times. So point where, oh, look, we've done this really good thing for Amazon, to where we stopped them from stealing $60 million in tips for 140,000 Amazon Flex drivers. I get that's a really good thing, but they've been milking that for over a year now. So they only fix one problem a year? That's what we're paying them to do? with our tax dollars? It's ridiculous. Honestly, I don't see how the FTC can actually pull this off to where it's positive for gig workers realistically. Although I do think the gig economy does need a certain amount of regulation, because a lot of these gig companies tend to pull shadier and shadier things to where they can get away with more than they actually should. Unfortunately, anytime I hear the government getting involved in anything, it's usually because either they want their cut or they want to put regulation on us in such a way to where it ends up hurting us in the long term. So honestly, I'm not buying it. I'm not thinking the FTC is actually doing what's right by us. Although I will say that it's good to see that there is a certain amount of caring for us as gig workers. Now, before I cap things off, I do want to say one thing. I know I didn't go over this whole article, but as a reminder, the article is in the description. It is a longer one though, so it's a lot to go through. Feel free to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!